Good morning.
ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
Shri
वन्दे
Vande
गुरुपरम्पराम्
Guru
ॐ सहना भवतु
Sahanavavatu
सहनौ भुनक्तु
Sahanavavatu
सह वीर्यम् कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ
Om
शान्ति
Shanti
शान्ति
Shanti
शान्तिः
Shanti.
Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Good morning.
Tatsat Om Namah Shivaya Acharya
Good
ji.
morning, Acharya ji.
Okay, so we are now going to the third mantra of the third section of the first chapter. And with this, as I told you last time, the example begins, the Ratha Kalpana. So we will chant. Please unmute yourself. Third mantra. Atmanagam Rathinam Vidhi
आत्मानगं रथिनं विद्धि
शरीरगं रथमेव तु
Shariragam
शरीरगं
Rathamevattu
रथमेव तु
बुद्धिं तु सारथिं विद्धि
बुद्धिं तु
सारथिं
सारथिं
विद्धि
मनः प्रग्रहमेव मनः प्रग्रहमेव च
मनः
Manav Pragrahamevacha
मनःप्रग्रहमेव च
Okay. So just pronunciation note that symbol with the bindu and stroke below it is specific to scriptures. It's actually only Anuswara. So it is actually Atmanam Rathinam Vidhi Shariram Rathamevat. But in the mantra, because it is there, you pronounce just Atmanagum. So that for the Shastric part of it, it comes like that. So as far as we are concerned, for chanting purposes, we'll take the gum. But even if you say Atmanam Rathinam Vidhi Shariram Rathamevatu, nothing is wrong. But chanting rules are there. Okay. Now these the next seven mantras, mantra 3 to mantra 9, is the chariot example, the Ratha Kalpana. And what is it about? The spiritual journey of the Jiva is presented. And a few comparisons are there. So the physical body is compared to the Ratham, the chariot. Why is that so? Because the chariot is a vehicle for a journey, and our physical body is also the vehicle for the Jiva's journey. The second is the horses are the ones which pull the chariot, draw the chariot from place to place. And that is compared to the sense organs, the indriyas, because indriyas are what compel most of our actions. So the five sense organs draw the body from one place to another place into various activities. Therefore, these are two comparisons. Physical body, Sthula Shariram, is compared to Ratham, the chariot, and the Indriyas, sense organs, are compared to the Ashvaha, the horses. Now, what controls the horses? The reins, right? The rein, that string which comes and goes through the nose of the horses and is held by the charioteer, that controls the horses. What controls the sense organs?
Mind.
mind.
Therefore, the mind is compared to the reins. Then, behind the mind, the intellect is required to control the mind. The intellect is required to choose the destination. And hence, the intellect is compared to the Sarathi, the charioteer who holds the reins. Right. So, we can see the way we are progressing. Physical body, chariot. Indriyas, horses, Ashvaha. Manaha, reins. Buddhihi, charioteer, Sarathi. And Who is it all for? All these people are in the control of whom? Control of the master, the Yajamanaha. Therefore, the person who sits in the chariot is the master, and that is compared to the Jivatma, the RC, the Pratibamba Chaitanya. These are the five comparisons here inside the body. Then there's one more comparison. Outside the body, the horses move along a path. Right? There is a path along which the horses move. Therefore, we are saying that look at the sense organs. They also follow certain paths. For example, if you're looking at the ears, then it is Shabdaha. If you're looking at the skin, then it is Parshaha. If you're looking at the eyes, it is Rupaha, and so on. Right? Tongue is Gandhaha, tongue is Rasaha, and so on and so forth. Right? So Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasaha, Gandhaha. Nose is Gandhaha, the smell. And therefore, these are said to be the paths for the sense organs. Each horse moves along the path, and therefore, the sense organs also move along the path. Then there's a last comparison, the destination. So there are two destinations. One is samsara and one is moksha. Okay. Now for the chariot to move along comfortably in the path, all the individual components must be fit, right? The chariot must be in good condition. The horses must be fit and well fed. The mind must be in good condition. The charioteer must be in good condition. The reins must be in good condition. So every one of these factors which we have talked about, they must be in good and functional condition, working condition. And this brings you to the first uh, derivation from this particular example. That is the first sadhana. You should always make sure the body is in good condition. The health of the body is, is the greatest wealth that we can have. Arogyam. Stringaihi tushtuvagam. That as the Dhanasloka goes. Stringaihi tushtuvagam. So you let all my body and sense organs and everything be in good condition. So that's the first sadhana. Never neglect the health of the body. The second sadhana is what? The sense organs must be in my control. Because until the horses are in the control of the charioteer, the chariot cannot move along one path. Therefore, the sense organs must be in my control. And therefore, all forms of sensory indulgences, I should be able to have mastery over. So, what is this called in Tattva? This that particular idea?
Dama.
Dhamma. Right. Third sadhana is the mind must be healthy. Right. Psychological health is extremely important because if my mind is disturbed, I mean, you can yourself think if your mind is disturbed, even watching TV is not possible, right? Even if you're watching a movie, that's not possible. How to then talk of a Vedanta class? And how do I develop a strong and healthy mind? You have to develop, as Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, you have to develop Daivi Sampataha and try to minimize or completely avoid Asuri Sampata. And this is emotional health. What is this called in Tattva?
Shamaha.
Shama. So you can see these cross references you can see, right? Okay. So Atmanam Rathinam Vidhi. Here remember Atma means Jivatma, the Chidabhasa, the RC. So the Jivatma is the master. Rath is a chariot. Rathinam is the master of the chariot. So Atmanam Rathinam Vidhi. Know that the Jivatma is the master, the Rathi. Right? So Ratha is chariot. Rathi is the one who uses the chariot. Then Shariram Ratham Evatu Iti Vidhi. You have to supply. Know that the Shariram, Ratham Eva, is the body itself. iti viddhi. This you should know. And buddhim tu sarathim viddhi. Know that the intellect, the buddhi, is the sarathi, the charioteer, the driver. And manaha pragraham evatu. Pragraham is the reins. So the connection between the horses and the charioteer, that is the pragraham. And therefore the buddhi determines all activities of the jiva. This is what is being said. And Shankara, of course, being very, careful, he adds one word in this commentary. Intellect determines all activities of the jiva should not be said. And he says prayena. Prayena means most of it, predominantly. Therefore, the intellect determines most of the activities of the jiva. Why does he add the word most? What activities are there which you have where the intellect cannot interfere or does not interfere?
Raviji,
Is
may I try?
Prakriti? Yeah.
Sorry?
What is driven by Prakriti?
Can you give an
Raviji,
example? Yeah, Nataraji, boli.
see, all your instinctive reaction, those are impulsive reactions, which are, habitual thinking pattern. The brain is not able to control that.
Habitual thinking patterns are definitely one. What others? Prakriti driven activities, as she said. What are they?
The physiological functions.
Physiological, involuntary functions of the body, breathing, circulation of blood, digestion. All these don't require the beating of the heart. These are all beyond uh, the control of the intellect. So prayana, mostly, he's just being careful. He wants to know that all activities are not controlled by the intellect, right? So I have heard of, so whenever you hear these yogic, texts which say that you can control the breathing, you can twitch your ears, you can control the heart, you should say that they're all just meant to impress people, just as to make them follow yoga. Nobody can really control these instinctive, physiological, involuntary activities. Okay. Now we go to the next mantra. Number 4. So please. And of course, as Natarajan said, many of your instinctive thoughts also cannot be controlled. Right? So we called it what in Bhagavad Gita? Do you remember?
Is it
We give it.
vasanas?
Vasana is okay. But I don't know if you remember in Bhagavad Gita, we said there are two types of reactions. What are they? One is the primary reaction, which is involuntary. You have no control. And we said one, the the response to the primary reaction, that is the secondary one. That is under your control. So remember, this is what Trajan is saying is the primary reaction is not in your control. And so there should no need to feel guilty about that. So if you see something and suddenly you feel very angry, it's an instinctive reaction born out of your vasanas. So there's no need to feel guilty about that. You can't control it. But once that primary reaction has come, what do I do with it? Do I give in to it? Do I nourish it? Or do I analyze it and say, no, this is good? That is the second reaction. This is what is meant by intellect cannot control everything. Not only the physiological functions, some of the mental functions also, the intellect is unable to control. So now we look at mantra number 4. Indriyani hayanahu
Indriyani
Indriyani hayanahu
Vishayagamastešu gocharan
vishayangamasteshu gocharan
Vishayangamasteshu
Atmendriyamanoyuktam
atmendriyamanoyuktam
Bhuktetyahurmaneshnaha.
bhukti
Ishana.
Okay. So if you look at the words, Ahu means who Manishinaha Ahu. The Manishina, the wise men, they declare that Indriyani Hiya. Hiya is the horse, Ashvaha. Sense organs are the horses. And Vishayan, Teshu Gocharan. The Gocharan, the path on which they move, they are the Vishayan, sense objects. And Atma Indriya Manaha Yuktam. Atma Indriya Manaha Yuktam. Who is he? He is the Bhokta. Bhokta iti ahum nishinaha. So what is Atma Indriya Manaha Yuktam? The Jivatma along Atma is Jivan. Jivatma along with Indriyas, sense organs, and along with the mind. He is the Bhokta, the experiencer. So since the sense organs very often or most of the times they drag the physical body towards the sense objects, the Vishaya. Therefore, they are compared toward the horses. And Vishayan Teshu Gochara. Vishayan is defined as these five classifications which we talked about. Shabda, Rupa, Gandha, Rasa, Sparsha. Now, remember, normally Vishayan means objects, right? But this is the traditional classification of the Acharya of Vedanta. They are looking at it in terms of the attributes because Shabda, Rupa, Gandha, Rasa, Sparsha are not objects in the traditional sense. What are they? They are the attributes of the objects. And traditionally in Vedanta, all traditional teachers, when they say that you are seeing I say that I am seeing a rose, what is what am I saying? I am saying that the rose is the object of my sense organ, which is the eye. Right? Sense organ is the eye, and rose is the object. That's what I mean when I say I'm seeing a rose. But the traditional Acharya will not say, he will correct you saying, no, you are not seeing a rose at all. What are you seeing?
Rupa
And
and the gandha, the smell.
no, smell you're not seeing. Smell is the different indriya. So
Shape.
remember, you are saying rupa, but basically, yes, form also. So rupa,
Form and
rupa means form and color both. That you must remember. When you say that the object of the eye, the field of the Chakshu Indriya is Rupa. You remember the Tattvabodha, what it says? Chakshuhu Vishayaha. What is that? What is the full definition? Oh, you forgot it. Rupa Grahanam. Vishayaha Rupa Grahanam. It doesn't say Vishaya Grahanam. It does Grahanam means grasping. So the field of the Chakshu is Rupa Grahana. It sees the form and color of the rose. So the object of your eye is what? It is the form and the color. It is not the rose. So this is a traditional way of accepting, which we must remember. And then Gochara means the marga, the path. Now there are five paths because the sense organs are also five. And there are two destinations. One is Anatma, one is Paramatma. So one is Samsara, is Moksha. And Atma Indriya Manoyuktam Jivatma. The Jivatma who is identified, Yuktam here means identified. Deha Abhimanam is there with the body, mind, and sense organs. Bhokta iti ahu manishanaha. The wise men say the Jivatma is the Bhokta and therefore is also the Karta. And therefore the life of the Jivatma is the movement or the struggle between the Karta and the Bhokta. Now, who is the samsari? The OC, Chit, the RC, Chidabhasa, or the RM, the Anatma. And this is being said here. Remember, Jivatma is a mixture of all three. Very often, I have heard even students in our classes saying that when you ask what is Jivatma, they say RC and RM. And if you tell them that no, it is RC, RM, and OC, then there's a little confusion. How can OC be there when it's only RC and RM, right? Mirror is there and the reflected light is there. Where is the question of original light? But remember that the original consciousness cannot be there. I mean, the reflected consciousness cannot be there until the original one is there. And therefore, when you say Jivatma, all three are present. Chit, Chidabhasa, Anatma. OC, RC, and RM, all three are present. Okay. And the only thing we need to remember is that the RC and the RM are mithya, having the substratum as the Atma, as the OC. For that matter, even samsara, which belongs to the RC, is mithya. Therefore, RC, RM, and samsara, they are all adhyasa, superimpositions upon the Atma, and therefore the Atma appears to be a samsari. Why? Because the samsara of the Chidabhasa, the RC, has been wrongly transferred to the Atma. And if you remember the Upadhi and Upahitam words, Upadhi is the body, Atma is the Upahitam. And this is what is being said in this particular mantra. Also, one needs to remember that the transference of the samsara is not real. OC is never a samsari. OC appears to be samsari because RC samsara has been falsely transferred onto the OC. Okay, these are all basics which you already know. Now, if you look at Shankara's bhashyam on this particular mantra, very interesting bhashyam. He gives a few important notes. He says, remember that OC by itself cannot be a bhokta. And if it cannot be a bhokta, it cannot be a samsari. Then why is the OC or the Jivatma called a samsari? The bhoktritvam, the samsaritvam, the status of being a bhoktritvam means what? Status of being an experiencer. Samsaritvam means status of being a samsari. Is only because of the intellect, which here case, in this case means RM plus RC, RM plus OC basically. So RC, because of the buddhi, which is the upadhi, right? Because the buddhi is an upadhi, what is the attribute of the buddhi is being transferred to the Atma. And if an attribute of samsaritvam is being transferred, remember a transferred attribute can never be intrinsic to the transferee. Atma is the transferee. So the transferred attribute can never be intrinsic. And whatever is not intrinsic is always incidental. Incidental means what? It can come and it can go. It is not an integral part. And whatever is incidental is mithya only. And this mithya status, we need not remove it at all. You need not work towards removing the mithya because understanding that it is mithya gives you the armor that it is mithya, it cannot disturb me. Therefore, you need not work to remove samsara at all. All you have to do is to understand that samsara is mithya. Right? Nothing else is required for moksha. Moksha is nothing but the understanding that the entire universe and my body, mind, sense complex, and my intellect, and my feelings, and my own samsara is mithya only. That is moksha. The understanding is mithya. What is the final understanding? I am nitya mukta. I was mukta. I am mukta. I will always be mukta. My real nature is Atma, Brahman. And the real nature, Swabhava, can never be destroyed, can never be removed. And if you think that samsara is your swabhava as a jivatma, remember swabhava can never be erased. Therefore, moksha will never be possible if you think that your real nature is samsara. So this is what is said in this particular mantra. Now we will look at the next mantra, mantra number 5. All very, very important mantras. Let us chant. Yastva vijnanavan bhavati
Yastva
यस्त्वविज्ञानवान्
Vijnanavan
भवति
Bhavati
ayuktena manasa sada
अयुक्तेन मनसा
Ayuktenamana
सदा
Sada
tasye indriyani
Tasya
तस्य
Indriyanyavashani
इन्द्रियाण्यवशानि
duštashva iva sarathe
दुष्टाश्वा
Dushtasva
इव
Sarathe.
सारथे
So, yaha avijnanavan, that person who has no jnana, who has no discrimination. Not only that, sada ayuktena manasa. He always has an undisciplined mind, a mind which is not subject to the control of the buddhi. What happens? Tasya indriyani, that such a man's sense organs, avashyani, will be, vasham means, vash is to control. Avash is uncontrollable. So tasya indriyani avashyani, his sense organs will not be controllable by that person. How? They use example. Saratehe eva dushtashva. Dushta ashwa means, ashwa is a horse. Dushta ashwa is an uncontrollable or unruly or a wild horse, a horse which has never been tamed. So, Saratehe eva dushtashva, like the wild horse of a charioteer. A very nice little example. That a person whose sense organs are not controlled. Why? Because he has no discrimination. The comparison is to a horse which has never been tamed or not fit for use by a human being. So now what we are seeing is these two verses we have to take together. Fifth mantra and sixth mantra. We are seeing what we call Anvaya Atirek. Right? What will happen if something is present and what will happen if something is not present. So this is Yukti. What will happen if the eligibility, the Adhikaritvam for Vedanta is present, and what will happen if the Adhikaritvam for Vedanta is not present. So if Adhikaritvam is present, what is the argument called? Anvaya. If Adhikaritvam is not present, it is a Vyatireka argument. So you are seeing Anvaya Vyatireka argument in these two mantras. So yaha tu avijnanavan bhavat. That person, if he is without discrimination and with an undisciplined mind, ayuktena manasa sada, the mind is not emotionally stable. It is constantly in stress, in panic, anger. Every emotion is there. So samarahitaha, it has no shama at all. Tasya indriyani avashyani. His sense organs are out of control. They are wayward sense organs. Like what? Dushta ashvaiva, like the untamed horses, saratehe, of the driver. He does not have an integrated personality. Right? What will happen? His sense organs will not be controlled. He is not sadhana chatushtaya sampannaha. And now you get the other side of the argument. We'll read mantra number 6. Yastu vijnanavan bhavati
यस्तु
Yastu
विज्ञानवान् भवति
Vijnanavan
yuktena manasa sada
युक्तेन
Yuktena
मनसा
Manasa
सदा
Sada
Tasyendrayani vashyani
तस्येन्द्रियाणि
तस्येन्द्रियाणि
वश्यानि
वश्यानि
sadashva eva sarathe.
सदश्वा
सदस्वा
इव
इव
सारथे
सारथे
So if you look at the first word of the fifth mantra and the first two words of the sixth mantra, what are you seeing? There is a yastva vijnanavan, and here it is yastu vijnanavan. Remember that yastu vijnanavan is a complex word, it has to be broken up. And when you break that, what happens? Yaha tu avijnanavan bhavati, right? And here it is Yaha tu Vijnanavan Bhavati. That is the difference. So earlier in the last mantra it was Avijnanavan. The one was no discrimination. Here he says Yaha Vijnanavan Bhavati. The person who has discrimination, who has got Viveka. And therefore Sada Yuktena Manasa. And there what was it? What was it? Ayuktena Manasa. Here it is Sada Yuktena Manasa. His sense organs are well disciplined. Then what? Vashyani. Those sense organs can be controlled. Eva Sada Ashva. So Sada Ashva is Satta, like a Sat, good, right? Ashva, like a horse which has been tamed. Sada Ashva, the tamed horse, fit for use by the human being. Charioteer Sathehe. So this person has discrimination, which means what? He has got Nitya, Anitya, Vivekaha. His goal is clear. He knows I want moksha. He knows he has a vyavasaya atmika buddhi. He knows that what is the path, what he wants to do first, karma yoga, upasana yoga, shravanam, mananam, nididhyasanam, all these he knows. Right? So for that person, what does he need? He needs jnana yogata. So first he starts karma yoga, then upasana yoga, and all that. So that is what Krishna said. Vyavasayatmika buddhihi ekeihi kurunandana. Clarity of goal should be there. Which are the steps in sequence I should know? I should know what I want, right? And when Ishvara comes before me, I should ask for moksha, not for strawberry ice cream. So yuktena manasa sada. Since he is completely disciplined, he will follow the necessary sadhana in sequence. And karma yoga will follow to get a mind which, in spite of ups and downs in life, becomes peaceful. FIR becomes reduced. So Ishvara Arpanam and Prasada Bhavana will be there. For such a person, Tasya Indriyani Vashyani, such a person keeps his sense organs under control. It becomes easy for him to control the sense organs, right? So remember that what is control of sense organs? It doesn't mean that sense organs will not ask you for anything. It's like sense organs are driven by vasanas. And therefore, whenever they see something which they want, they will ask. Like if you are a diabetic, and supposing unfortunately a person is a diabetic, and the sense organs are accustomed to sweets. When you see sweets, rasagulla, gulab jamun, sense organs will not keep quiet. They will say, I want. So you can't say that sense organs will be controlled. No, they will ask for what they want. What is the control? You decide. They can ask for what they want. You decide whether to give it or not. That capacity to say yes or no, that is samaha and damaha. And he gives an example. Sada ashve eva saratha. This is the Anvaya argument. The earlier one was the Vyatireka argument. If not, then what? If is here, then what? Right? So if you are discriminate, your sense organs can be controlled. Anvaya. If you do not have discrimination, your sense organs cannot be controlled. Vyatireka. Therefore, what is the conclusion? From the Anvaya Vyatireka argument, what is the conclusion? You must have discrimination to be able to control the sense organ. Discrimination is the cause for control of sense organs. Okay. what is the benefit of this kind of discrimination? So that is said in the next mantra, mantra number 7, which have 7 and 8 again are complementary mantras which we have to read together. So mantra number 7, we will chant. Yastva vijnanavan bhavati
यस्त्वविज्ञानवान् भवति
amanaska sada शुचिः
मनस्कः
मनस्कदा
सदा शुचिः
शुचिः
न स तत्पदमाप्नोति
न
न
स
स तत्पदमाप्नोति
तत्पदमाप्नोति
संसारं चादिगच्छति.
संसाराधिगच्छति
You can say Sagamsaram also, but Samsaram is easier to understand. So that's why I said Samsaram. So what is he saying? Yaha avijnanavan bhavati. The person who is avijnanavan, who is not having a discriminative intellect. And not only that, amanaskaha. He has a amanaha basically is not having a mind. So here you have to take it as a disciplined mind. Amanasakaha, who does not have a disciplined mind. And not only that, sada, break it up correctly. Not sada shuchihi, sada ashuchihi. And the mind is ever impure. Ashuchihi. Saha tatpadam apnoti. He does not gain that final goal of moksha. Tatpadam is Brahmapadam. So moksha. Saha tatpadam na apnoti. He does not gain moksha. Not only that, adhigacchati samsara cha. But he attains samsara also. Without, there are two problems. Problem number one is he does not get moksha. Problem number two is he gets samsara. Okay, now if you look at this mantra, it should be read with mantra in which you already read with the mantra number 5, right? So this is little upside down. There's a gap in the middle. Mantra 5 and 7 is actually the Vyatireka argument. Mantra 6 and 8 give the Anvaya argument, right? So Sada Ashuchihi. Now, if you look at, he says that mind is uncontrolled, impure, sorry. And Sada Ashuchihi. Two words are there. Amanaskaha, without a disciplined mind. What is the cause of that? Avijnanavan. A buddhi which is not discriminating is unable to control the mind because buddhi is the controller of the mind. And when the buddhi itself doesn't have viveka, how can it control the mind? Therefore, amanaskaha. The mind has no discipline. And the mind controls what?
The sense organs.
Sense organs. Therefore, sada ashuchihi means what? Sada indriyani ashuchi. Right? You have to correct properly. The avivekaha buddhi. Aviveki buddhi. The buddhi without discrimination has not been able to control the mind. Therefore, the mind is not disciplined. And the next chain is what? Mind is supposed to control the sense organs, indriyaha. And the sense organs are therefore not disciplined because the mind is not disciplined. So, sada indriyani ashuchi. You have to supply that. Sense organs are impure. They are indulging in all unhealthy interactions with sense objects. And since any interaction with a sense object generates thoughts, where did we come across this pramanam? That is the interaction of the sense organs with the sense objects which generates thoughts.
Matra Sprashas.
Asparshasta Kante. Right? Very good. So, since the sense organs are not disciplined, they indulge in all sort of unhealthy behavior and generate thoughts like kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, etc. Mada, remember, is arrogance. It can be also lust. Matsaram is jealousy. And if all these thoughts are bubbling in your mind, where is the time for Vedanta? Where is the focus for Vedanta? And therefore, tat padam na apti. That person cannot attain moksha. It's a padam. Tat padam is Brahma padam, Paramatma padam. On the other hand, what will happen to him? Samsaram cha adhigachati. He will only get samsara. Okay, now remember that if you're looking at all this, you're seeing all these mantras. Basically, we are talking about sadhana chatushtayam only of Tattva Bodha, right? But as you will see in all the Upanishads, if you look at Shruti or even Bhagavad Gita, the entire sadhana chatushtayam is not presented, you know, as a whole in any mantra or any particular verse of Bhagavad Gita. What you have to do is you have to take several mantras, in fact, spread over several Upanishads, which covers all the sadhana chatushtayam. And that is why you have Prakarana Granthas, which do the consolidation. When we talked about Prakarana Granthas, we said that they actually have no basis apart from Shruti. What they do is they topic wise they consolidate the teachings of Shruti because Shruti doesn't teach topic wise. Always that is. Okay. Now we look at mantra number 8. Yastu vijnanavan bhavati
यस्तु
यस्तु
विज्ञानवान्
विज्ञानवान् भवति
भवति
समनस्कसदा शुचिः
समनस्तदा
मनस्तदा शुचिः
शुचिः
सततत्पदमाप्नोति
स
स तु
तु
तत्तु
तत्पदमाप्नोति
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 यस्मात् भूयो न जायते
यस्मात्
यस्मात्
भूयो
भूयो
यस्माद्भूयो
न
जायते
जायते
So this is the other argument. Yah vijnanavan. That person whose buddhi has been sharpened with discrimination, who has got a discriminative intellect. Viveka buddhi he has got. Samanaskaha. And therefore, because the Viveki buddhi is there, it disciplines the mind. Therefore, sa manaskaha. The earlier one was avijnanavan, manaskaha. Here it is vijnanavan, therefore sa manaskaha, with a disciplined mind. And because the disciplined mind is there, the disciplined mind controls the indriyas, and therefore sada indriyani suchihi. The indriyani are always controlled. What happens to such a person? Sahatu apnoti, he attains tat padam, that Brahma padam, yasmat na bhuyaha jayate, from which he is not reborn again. Jayate, reborn or born. And bhuya means again. So bhuyaha jayate, he is not reborn, from which he is not reborn. He is not born again, therefore not reborn. Again, as I said, mantra number 6, and this mantra has to be read together, and this is the Anvaya argument. Okay. And as you can see, the assumptions in the Upanishad is that whoever has come is now familiar with Sadhana Chatushtayam. Therefore, they are advanced seekers. Therefore, Upanishad will not dwell in very great detail on these things. So you just simply say samanaskaha. The person has a tranquil, relaxed mind while he is doing Shravana. Why? Because he has cultivated Daivi Sampati. His mind is Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampannaha. And therefore, remember that a mind which has lower FIR is always the focus, the recommendation of Shruti. Get a mind which has low FIR. Such a mind is psychologically healthy. And a psychologically healthy mind is a prerequisite for Vedantic study. And once you have a healthy mind, sadashuchihi, your sense organs are controlled. And therefore, when you are sitting in Vedanta class, your sense organs will not permit the samosa smell to enter your mind. Or even if it enters, you will just ignore it. Right? So, in fact, if you look at TV, you will find that all negative news items only disturb the mind. So, a person who is basically uh, Vedantic seeker, you will find that, and you must have already found over the last 3, 4 years, all of you who have been there, you will find that some things you drop, right? Like, for example, TV news, which has the great quality of trying to fix your mind on small, small things. And the news pattern is such that it doesn't disturb you. So how many of you have found that you don't want to watch TV or have reduced your TV watching? All that is part of the sensory purity which you have been getting through Vedanta study. Has anybody had that experience?
Yes, Acharya ji.
Yes.
Right. So you will find that you may want to watch, bhajans, much to the disgust of your partner, I'm sure, but you don't want to watch TV news. So as such a person who has a controlled mind, tat padam apnoti, he will reach the Brahma padam. And what is the advantage of the Brahma padam? Yasmat bhuyo na jayate. There will not be a rebirth. There will be no slip back into samsara. And what is that tat padam? That is defined in the next mantra. Mantra number 9. Vijnana Sarathiryastu
Vijnana
Vijnanasaratarastu
Saratarastu
Manaf Pragravan Naraha
Manah
Pragrahavan
Pragrahavanaraha
Udvanaf Paramapnoti
Sodhvanah
Paramapnoti
Paramapnoti
Tadvishnov Paramam Padam.
Tad
Vishnu
Vishnu
Paramam
Paramam
Padam
Padam.
So, Yaha tu Vijnana Sarathi. So, that person who has a controlled intellect, like the Sarathi, the good charioteer,
हाँ
Manaha Pragrahavan,
दरवाजा खोलने को कह रहा हूँ
Manaha Pragrahavan, who has a disciplined mind, like what? Pragraha, the reins of the charioteer, apnoti. Such a person, he reaches what? Paramam Advanaha. So Advanaha is the path, Adhyatmika path, the spiritual path. Paramam is the destination. So he reaches the path to the spiritual path to the final destination. What is that final destination? Vishnoho, Brahman. Therefore, Vijnana Sarathi. The Anvaya logic is continuing. Suppose a person has the Vijnana Sarathi. So Vijnana Sarathi can be taken as two things. One is the best charioteer. And who is the charioteer for you? The Buddhi. Therefore, Vijnana Buddhi. Suppose a person has a Vijnana Buddhi, discriminative intellect. Now, how to make sure that my intellect is discriminative? That is the question. What is that, methodology by which you can make the intellect discriminative?
Are we talking about using FIR?
I'm saying, how do you make the intellect, how do you make it a Viveka Buddhi?
by controlling the mind. Manah Pragrahavan.
It is the Buddhi, it is the intellect which controls the Buddhi, with mind. So you can't control the mind to get a controlled intellect.
What about Dosha Darshanam?
You are using what? Intellect alone. But the intellect is already confused.
Shastra.
Very good. So you cannot depend on the intellect because it is already confused. And therefore, Krishna says somewhere, what does he say?
Yes.
What did he say? Tasmat Shastram. He did not say use the Shastram always.
Mm.
What you should do and what you should not do. What is your guide? Tasmat Shastrameva. Where did he say that? This is why it's very important to have the chanting similarly. So I will leave it to you as a small little homework. Okay. And don't, as soon as the class is over, you should be able to say, not wait for a day and then go through all the scriptures. Okay. So the Tasmat Shastra,
Indriya Yahu. That one. No.
Tasmat Shastra, he very clearly said, depend upon your Shastra for what, doing what is right and what is wrong. So therefore, depend on the Shastram. Your Guru, who is your teacher, who is the one who speaks the Shastram, he is the guide, right? And therefore, Manaha Pragrahavan, control the intellect and then control the mind. Once that is done, Sahanaraha, such a person, Paramam Advana Param. The final destination of the path is there. He reaches the spiritual path and he goes to the final destination. So
Guruji,
Advana,
Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te.
Tasmat
Karya
Shastram
Karya
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 Pramanam.
Vyavasthina.
16 chapter.
Okay, so that's very important. Just remember that always. That when you are studying the Upanishads, you must be able to connect it instantaneously. Then only you're coming through, right? And what is advanaha? So advana is a word which is not very common. So Shankara says you must take it as samsara gate. Gate means traveling. So advanaha means samsara gate, which means traveling through samsara. And once you travel through samsara, you will go to the other end of samsara, which is what? Moksha. So saha advana samsara gate, he gets moksha. What is that moksha? Vishnu paramam padam. Note that Vishnu here is not Narayana. Okay. Vishnu here is one who completely pervades everything. Vishnoti. So what completely pervades everything? Brahman. Therefore, Vishnu here is Brahman. And apnoti. Apnot means reaches. What do you mean by apnot, by reaching Brahman? So Shankara says, I will clear that doubt for you. So he says, Muchyate sarva samsara bandhanaihi. Can you understand what that means? Muchyate sarva samsara bandhanaihi. What does it mean?
Is
Released
able
from the
to
bondage
break the
of all
bondages of
samsara.
samsara.
He is released from all the bondage of samsara. Interestingly, I mean, for those who understand, it's not important, right? But interestingly, for those who understand a little bit of Sanskrit, the literal translation is, you know what? Because there is a visarga after sarva samsara bandhanaihi, that sarva samsara bandhanaihi becomes the subject to the sentence. Therefore, it says the literal translation is samsara will release him. It's not that he is released from samsara. Samsara will release him. Very nice, interestingly, very nice usage of the words. That there will be no option for samsara but to release him. Right. So that is why we have to remember that Vishnu is Sarvam Vyapnoti iti Vishnu. Sarvam Vyapnoti means which covers everything, which pervades everything. That is Vishnu. And you don't need to travel to reach Vishnu. Because if you are taking Vishnu as Nirguna Brahman, because he is Sarvagataha, where is the question of travel? You don't have to do anything. And that is why Muchyate Sarva Samsara Bandhanaihi. The moment you understand that you are that Brahman, what happens? The shackles of samsara fall away from you. So with this, we'll stop for today. Any questions? A very nice set of mantras, actually. No questions. Everybody's jnani already. Good. So, anyway, thank you for your patience. Om Namadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you so much, Acharya ji.